I want to get further thoughts from you guys about the Suns side of this deal. What do you guys think?
I think this is fantastic for them. People are looking at this trade for them too much like, oh, they traded Ayton and now they're replacing Ayton with Nurkic. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really the point of the trade. You can look at it, yes, they got Nurkic. Like, that's not great, but he still does some stuff fine. It's not like he does enough to really like anchor a defense or anything like that. He's also more of a theoretical floor spacer than he is like actually being able to do that. Like, but does that really matter that much when you have the players that they have? Also, considering everyone else that they got in the trade are just further depth pieces. Guys like Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, like those are good players who will be able to contribute in some capacity, even if it's just as an injury replacement for a temporary stretch of time. It's like, yeah, this team that was definitely going to need depth almost more than anything now has a pretty decent amount of depth on their team, considering every change that they've had to undergo throughout the course of this offseason so far. It's like they've done the stuff that they probably had to do in order to make the Bradley Beal trade be something that actually made sense in the long run.
If you can guarantee me Nurkic is going to be there for them in the postseason, then it's fine enough, I would say. But like, who is their starting center if Nurkic is gone? Did they keep Smack Biyombo? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, how much does that even matter? Like, if your main like game closing lineup is like more of a small ball lineup with KD at the 5, like, does it really matter who's your starting center? Like, yeah, maybe Nurkic is the guy who is playing the most center minutes, but I think this team is going to end up running a ton of small ball, and there's still a chance to me that they go out and get another center to plug some holes a little bit. Like, I think Biyombo's still on the team. It's not like he's great, but again, it's like they have depth everywhere else, and they're going to be running a ton of small ball anyways. So the idea that Nurkic being their starting center somehow just derails things for them, I can't get behind that. It doesn't make sense. I think the Suns definitely got better from this trade.
I don't know. Maybe I just think higher of DeAndre Ayton than you do.
Oh, I think so high of DeAndre Ayton. It's just, I don't think them losing him, a guy that they were underutilizing anyways, in favor of going this direction. I don't think losing Ayton is somehow like gonna make them worse, especially when you look at all the players they got back. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't feel like the players they got back are like quality enough role players. Like, technically they're reaching the threshold of like checking a box, and that's what, you know, Phoenix has needed to do, is check those boxes. But like, ultimately I feel like I would rather have a center I feel a lot better about than, you know, Nasir Little and Grayson Allen. That's me personally.
They also have Drew Eubanks, who's like not great, but you know,
Eubanks ain't
not
bad.
Ideal.
Eubanks ain't the worst.
I could imagine a scenario where, just for fun, I don't say it's likely, but I could imagine a world where Drew Eubanks has one great playoff game defensively or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a horrible player, apparently. You know, he was horrible a few years ago, but not so much anymore, I guess.
He can be survivable. If the plan for the Suns is to go small, I got bad news for them. It's not going to work towards an actual title, and that's what they're aiming for here. I mean, to be fair, I don't think there was a move that Phoenix was making that was going to make them better than the Nuggets from where they were after the Bradley Beal trade, but I don't know. I feel like you also probably, maybe I'm wrong, because obviously they probably shopped him around for a while, but I feel like you could have done a little bit better for DeAndre Ayton than that.
I think it ended up being a situation, and this is speculation. I don't have any information on this. I think teams were pretty content with like, we'll just get Ayton on the free agent market down the road. Like, there's no need to trade anything for him now.
So I guess that makes their starting lineup Beal and Booker, Durant, and then who's the next forward in that starting lineup? Would it be Nasir Little?
Yuta Watanabe, I say.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. I think they might go with Nasir though, just because he's like the defensive guy.
Bates Diop.
Honestly, though, the fact that we're talking about
Chimezi Metu, like, who's a decent player.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think their big depth is that bad. I seriously, with a roster like that, with like a 3-headed monster of Beal, Booker, and Durant, like, you just need someone who can stand there there and just like hold their own.
Yeah, I can see.
It's not like they're going to be
that.
scoring.
Yeah.
Chimezi Metu and Eubanks. I guess I didn't know enough about that roster because I don't hate that. I mean, it's still not ideal for sure to be going into a playoff setting where potentially those guys are your starters. But if they're your starter for a couple of playoff games and Nurkic is there for the other ones, it's definitely not terrible. I don't like banking on small ball. That's for sure. I don't think that's going to work out in their favor. They can probably score a shitload of points off of it, but they're not going to defend a thing.
I think more importantly than having small ball is just the fact that they have flexibility. Their roster is so deep that they have the ability to basically do whatever they want. Some stuff they'll be better at than other things, but most importantly is like they have a lot of different players who can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I agree with that because like if they have enough guys who conceivably can be NBA like playoff rotation guys that like you'll figure it out as the season goes along who really is and who really isn't, and you can like hopefully solidify at least like an 8-man rotation going into the postseason. I don't hate it, but I'm not thrilled about it either. But Phoenix is probably in a position where you really can't get a thrilled about it trade. So maybe I'm just being a little too harsh.
The last component of the trade for the Suns is this young fellow named Keon Johnson. The only thing I noticed with him, I'm not familiar, but I took a look at his stats right quick, is that his free throw percentage kind of fell off a cliff. He went from 80% his rookie season to 65% last season.
I mean, how much is he playing is really how much that affects.
He played like half the season with a reasonable amount of minutes for the sample to be there, I think.
He was attempting one free throw a game.
Yeah.
40 games. So he took 40 free throws, basically.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to buy too much into that sample size.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, what does he do? I don't know anything about him personally. Do you know, Alex?
I believe he's a pretty good defender. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure he's like a really good defender. Or has the potential to be a really good defender. He's super young. He's 21 years old, and he's in his, going into his third season. So. What's
his three ball numbers look like?
Career 34% so far. So, not bad. I mean, he's taken 181 over the course of his career.
That's a very small sample, but it's, at least we're starting off on something solid ground.
But to go back to
181, that's like
spread out over a few years. It's a little small.
NBA. Well, it's over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, it's not nothing for sure.
It's multiple seasons. It's not like he did that in one 40 game stretch over the course of 2 seasons. I mean, he's played a significant number of NBA minutes at this point to where you can look at sample sizes and be like, okay, yes, there is volume that you can start to infer things.
I think this trade is solid for them, but I feel like ultimately Nurkic is gonna be gone, and it's gonna be like, well, you're just getting railed inside constantly. But they might have been susceptible to that regardless.
I mean, if they do have Nurkic though, and let's say that he doesn't even play big minutes, if him and Biyombo each play 20 minutes a game, and then you got 8 minutes of Eubanks and fucking Kevin Durant as center or whatever, that's not horrible. Especially like Alex said earlier, when their primary job is to just not be a cone on defense and to not worry about scoring the ball. Like, the Suns roster construction was probably the weakest component to their championship odds going into the season. Like, obviously they have lots of talent, but people are really questioning how well the roster is constructed. We got Bradley Beal playing point guard next year, but now they've kind of rounded out the DeAndre Ayton situation into more depth, which ultimately adds, as we talked about, flexibility. And I think their odds as a championship contender this season have definitely gone up after this trade, like without a doubt, even though Nurkic is definitely a step back. Adding Grayson Allen, Nas Little, and Keon Johnson, who is allegedly a good defender, I guess. It seems like it's going to work to me. Maybe the Suns versus Bucks in the finals is not quite inevitable, but highly likely.
I still don't necessarily see the Suns coming out of the West. I just think
definitely
that this was
not over
a
the
good
Nuggets.
trade for them. I still have the Nuggets as the favorite, and there are other teams in the West that I'm like.
So why don't we?
Than the Suns.
Why don't we go ahead and end on that? Yeah, right there, the chat. Let's talk about. Seems like a lot of people, and I'm definitely in this camp, feel like the Bucks definitely win the East.